Hey everybody, welcome to Impossible Coin. We're out of our usual format this week. We have a guest. Somehow, last year, we managed to not chase off Dave Lang.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing lovely. It's a Saturday morning here in Chicago, getting ready to have a good weekend and do what we can do.
Nice. Also, I wanted to thank you for shouting us out last year on GFB. After you,
oh, no problem.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, that feeds into something that we were planning on asking near the end of this show. Whatever happened to season 2, man?
I think it's a combination of several factors. I think the biggest of which is I think Daryl and I just kind of got bored doing the show.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a show without an identity. We just kind of it was basically an excuse for us to hang out more and talk.
Right.
And we started doing that just more and more regularly. And then what do we want to do with the show? Should we we should do something with it? Because we have, some followers and da-da-da-da-da. Nothing ever excited us. And so just atrophy kicked in and we just kind of let it sit there. I don't think it's done forever. I could see one day going back to it. But I wouldn't want to do the exact same show. I'd want to have a good idea for something we could do that's kind of different than most people do.
Okay. All right. If it's anything, I think that what you guys talked about is the idea for season 2. It had some value. So,
yeah, it turns out that was a lot of work. Started thinking about that, and then it's that plus my travel schedule would be just an absolute ass ton of work. And so I think all those factors at the end of the day contributed to its current on hiatus status.
And so is the travel schedule also responsible for the death of I'm a Fix Wolves?
No, that's that is how do I say that? Because I don't think that's dead. I think that's going to come back. Jeff and I are waiting for something specific to happen to start recording again. Let's just say that.
Okay, all right. That sounds like some delicate shit where I can't pry. So
not being too mysterious or anything, but yeah, we're waiting for something to happen, and then we'll be all good.
Okay.
I mean, the mystery is thick, though.
Yeah.
It's in the air. It's hovering in the air. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Then I'm going to burn out our last podcast question. Then we can move on to the stuff that Jason Schreier stole all my thunder on.
Okay. As he does.
Yeah. So
he makes the money.
There has been surfaced in the air on GFB previously the idea, I believe it was, of a podcast with you and Kelly Wallach watching Star Trek: The Next Generation and then talking about it.
Yeah. So Kelly is she lives in the sticks now. She moved from Santa Cruz to someplace in Northern California, and I haven't visited her out there yet. But she is deep in the boonies, and she's kind of when she's home now, she's kind of disconnected, and so it's kind of a different scene than we were doing before, where she's living online and working. She's still running her business remotely, but it's aside from that, she's kind of staying offline. So it's that's another casualty of just real life stuff.
Oh man,
because that would have been a fun one for sure.
Absolutely.
I think we probably would have had more arguments about which ones we should actually do VO for than recorded them, but that would have been fun too, I guess.
See, I think the prospect of listening to two good people just suffer through season 2 of Star Trek: The Next Generation sounds like a good time.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. I guarantee you that wouldn't have happened. I would not watch that again for $1 million.
Season 2 is rough.
Yeah, I think it would have been I would always be pushing for Deep Space Nine. Kelly would be pushing for anything but Deep Space Nine, and that'd be the crux of the show, I think.
Deep Space Nine is the straight up pinnacle. It's the best. I don't see any other argument.
Yeah, well, you should talk to Kelly about that, I guess.
Well,
yeah, Kelly disagrees.
If the opportunity presents itself, I will certainly do so. Cool. So we wanted to spend a fair amount of our time today talking about working conditions with the industry, labor within the industry, the choices that Iron Galaxy makes, as far as what it does with labor and how you handle running that business. I'm going to try to make sure that the three of us don't cover stuff that Jason already asked in the split screen interview, because if people want to go listen to that, they can listen to that. So try to not be too repetitive. One of the things that you mentioned in that was that you didn't want to ask anybody to do anything that you weren't willing to do, or that you were running the company based on like what you were interested in. And something that I wanted to, I guess, put a more fine point on is, does that goal for a company, and not even just specifically Iron Galaxy, does that goal become unachievable or out of reach when a company is publicly traded?
So I've never run a publicly traded company, so I can only kind of speculate based on like what I believe to be. I definitely don't think it's impossible. I think it's possible to raise money and to get financial support if you are signaling that you are a values-based organization, right? I think you'll attract a different kind of investor. I think you'll attract one more wanting to support, Phenomena is a good example. So Robin Hunicke is the CEO of Phenomena, and she started the company with Martin, and they left that game company, I guess, like 7 years ago or something like that, after Journey. And their mission for both of them, actually, is basically just to hire as many women, people of color, and queer folk as they possibly can. And it's the only dev studio I know that has minority cis white dudes in it. And it's possible because they just attract a different kind of investor. They find investors and funding people that are interested in that mission as well, right? And admittedly, on Wall Street, there's probably a lot less of that going around than in the public sector. But I don't. So I think it's challenging. I think there's probably a limit to what value, maybe your stock would be undervalued per se or whatever. It'd probably be very hard, but I wouldn't put impossible. I wouldn't say it's impossible.
Okay. So very difficult, but doable.
I'm guessing.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. I mean, I bet you if I did the tiniest bit of research in this, I bet you could find some examples of it happening, right? And again, just because it's like on the qualification, because you can still take. Yeah, I'm gonna say possible / likely that there are companies examples like this out there right now.
Okay. Rocky, Tegan, did you guys have any follow-ups to that?
No, I think we can move on.
Cool. So, next question, staying on crunch. In your opinion, is the practice of crunch right now primarily propped up by abuse of the FLSA, or is it coming from something else?
What is the FLSA? What is that?
The FSLA is what defines exempt versus non-exempt employees.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so I'm familiar with that. I've just never heard the acronym before. So I think crunch is really simple. I think crunch is like, it's hard to answer these questions succinctly because it's kind of and it's also important that people understand that this is my own personal kind of story and perspective on crunch. I'm not speaking for an industry. I'm not speaking for other studios. I'm just talking about my personal history with it. Like, for most of my career, I didn't mind crunching, right? I kind of enjoyed being in the studio with my friends, hanging out late, and just getting stuff done and making cool games with my friends. Now, there's times when I hated it. There's times like, oh God, I got to miss a wedding this weekend or whatever. But the way crunch manifests is because when you're young and you're just getting started, the job's fun and you just want to do it. And you're kind of like, you're probably not making a lot of money. And so you've got more time than money. You don't have a lot of money to go do stuff anyway. You're probably living in a very expensive city. And so, heck, I might as well just work and get better at my job. Right. And just like build my craft and make cool shit. And then you just kind of get used to it. And then it has this knock-on effect where everyone around you is kind of doing the same thing, and then everyone notices that everyone's there all the time, and it kind of turns into this like weird, unspoken, hey, we're all here together kind of thing, right? And so I don't think it's this. It's not. There's definitely companies that it's like, hey, you fuckers, you're going to be here this weekend. You're going to be here. It's mandatory 12 hours a day. Da 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 da. That definitely happens, and that's shit. And that is like people not understanding their rights as a worker. But the way it gets started, actually, I think is pretty organic and pretty. It's just pretty kind of like unthought about, and then that gets exploited by some companies and mandated by others. But I think at its core, it's just when you're young and you're getting started, you want to holy cow, I'm getting paid to make games. I'm just going to do this, right?
Okay.
And you don't really think about the exploitation part.
So it's good intentions gone bad.
Yeah, I just call it naive, probably. Like, it's weird. It's like when my first couple years in the industry, I worked my ass off. I worked probably, I don't want to put a number on it, but it was easily over 75 hours a week for sure, on average, probably for the first 3 years I worked in the industry. But, and do I regret that? It's like, well, I can't say I do, because it made me a really good programmer. And then it made me so good at my job, I could get jobs doing whatever I wanted, doing programming and that kind of stuff. And if I hadn't worked so damn hard and crunched, I wouldn't have been as good, and then I couldn't have just left that company when I wanted to. And so, like I said, I can't say I hate crunch or it's whatever, because it got me kind of where I am today. But it's a personal choice. I think this is where I shake out on it. And this is kind of what I was talking about in that other podcast. Sorry to double down, but it's kind of like a core point that underpins all my thoughts on it. It's like crunch should be a choice every individual makes. There shouldn't be any peer pressure to do it. There shouldn't be any mandated hours to do it. Like, if Ramon wants to go in the studio on a Saturday just because he's enthused to work on it, he's a grown-ass man. He can make his own choices and do what he wants to do. I'm going to sit at home today and not do shit. I'm going to work around the house. I'm going to get caught up on some PUBG esports stuff, and I'm going to do some chores. That's a choice I'm making. It's not something someone is imposing on me. And I think when it becomes this mandated thing, this unspoken thing, this culture of crunch, that's shitty. But in the beginning, I think for most people, it just starts off as this kind of naive thing of hey, this is kind of fun, and I don't mind them being exploited because it's fun. If that makes any sense.
No, I think that's what came through a lot in the interview that Dan Houser did. Because Houser definitely was in the space where he's writing a game that he loves the story, and he's putting in the hours, and he's really good at his job. And it's just, I feel like it hit different because he was at the top.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference. You have to, again, when people come to Iron Galaxy, and I don't want to say we never have worked hard or we've never crunched or people have never put in overtime, because people have.
Sure.
But as a point of policy, right, over the years, we've kind of realized hey, we don't want to run a studio like this. This isn't I've got 3 kids. Chelsea's got a family, right? And this is not the way we want to run a studio anymore. We had to kind of deprogram some people, not everyone. Some people were oh, fuck, this is amazing. I don't have to crunch. It's great. And then instantly would go into Friday at 6:00, they'd be sliding down the Brontosaurus or whatever. Hopefully that's a Flintstones reference that a lot of young teens will get. That's great. But some people would just they'd sit at their desks and we'd have to be hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just working. I'm dude, you don't have to be here. You can go home. You'd have to tell people that it's okay to go home and nothing bad is going to happen. And I think that's the so I read that article too, and I don't know Dan at all, and I don't really know anyone that works at Rockstar, so I have no even secondhand knowledge of their situation, short of what I read. But it is this thing where it's hey, your intentions can be great, and I just want to make this a great game, and that's all I want to do, and I'm willing to put in the time to do it. Unless if you're running the studio or any position of authority, you kind of need to really swing the pendulum the other way and let people know that that's a choice I'm making and you don't have to, And so I don't I could totally see it. I don't want to say that. I don't want to speculate, but it's something everyone running a studio should be aware of, I guess.
Okay. So I think that does really speak to where the culture of crunch comes from. That it sounds like it is something which can be born of naivete, or somebody potentially getting started with the best of intentions and then getting exploited. But with the reputation that Iron Galaxy has developed as far as like how it treats employees and the way it goes about business, has that ended up translating into the type of applicants that Iron Galaxy is getting? Do people seek out Iron Galaxy because of its reputation for being a healthy work environment? Do people want to work there because of that rep?
Yeah, so I don't. It's I think it's a good question, and we definitely get that hope is why I do stuff like this, right? That's why I agreed to do that interview on split screen, right? It's because I think, hey, like, if we're not going to talk about this now and use it as an asset for recruiting, like, when are we going to do it, right? Like, we've been running the studio like this for a long time, and people really like it, and most people stick around at IG when they get there because we treat them like, normal human beings. So if we're not going to talk about it now, when are we going to do it? And that's kind of why I started doing some of this stuff. And we have noticed a spike. Like, every time I tweet a personal story about, like, the one that's pinned to my bar,
mm-hmm.
it's a bit like I kind of my pinned tweet is definitely like illustrative of the worst parts of my personal story crunch without kind of talking about the good parts of it.
Right.
Or what it's done for me, I guess I should say, rather than the good parts. But and like when I tweeted that out, when I did the split screen interview, whenever I do these things, we do get like a tick up in applicants. So that happens. It doesn't sustain though. So I don't think the official I don't think it's that part of it's like not part of the common, I guess, conversation about like people are having about jobs or whatever, right? When they're talking with their friends. Like I know, for example, like whenever I thought about changing jobs in my career, like, are they a good employer was not something I even considered. And this was a different time. This was like last time I changed jobs before IG was like, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, right? And so it definitely was not part of the common conversation back then. So maybe it is now, but like I was more like, God, they make Halo. I want to go work on Halo. Like those were the conversations people had about jobs. And I bet that's still largely the main factor in what drives people to do stuff. Yeah. Like when we were working on KI, we would receive a lot of people who are super into fighting games, right? And I think like for people, that kind of visibility sticks a lot more than like, oh, we run the studio humanely. So we definitely see upticks, but it doesn't sustain.
Okay. It feels like something which, at the very least, surfaces kind of regularly. When we were getting ready for our interview today, one of the things I came across on your Twitter timeline was a post from, I think, about 2 years ago, maybe 2 years and change, where you're wandering around the Iron Galaxy studio with your phone, walking up to people saying, "It's Mario time."
That's the greatest article that's ever been on any webpage of all time, by the way.
It's definitely diamond tier. It's top shelf.
I'm assuming most of your listeners don't know. So can I set the stage with the Mario time?
Please do.
All right. So there was this article. I think it was Kotaku. It was either Kotaku or Polygon. And the headline was basically like, at Nintendo of Japan, crunch time. That's not called crunch time. Well, working late is called Mario time.
Yeah.
And it was about Shigeru Miyamoto and some of the leads on the Mario team. Like when they weren't working on a Mario game, they would work on the game they were working on all day. And then at like 11 p.m. when people are getting ready to leave the work, because Japan is like that, they would go to people's desks and they would say, "It's Mario time." And then they would like work on like a side project Mario game, whatever the next Mario game would be. They'd be like prototyping things or planning things out until like 3 or 4 in the morning, and then they would go home. And so I just loved the idea of like Shigeru Miyamoto sneaking up behind someone, like leaning over in their ear and whispering, "It's Mario time," and that person just being soul-crushingly depressed about it, right?
Oh, God.
And then like, "Oh no, it's Mario time!" Like it's this cudgel that gets wielded instead of like, I get to work on a Mario game. And so I kind of turned that into the stupid thing where I yell Mario time and then no one's in the office. That's my story. Finito.
Well, I probably sound like some kind of fucking square because I watched your video and I was like, oh wow, this is this is interesting because it's a reflection of how long we've seen something about like Dave Lang and labor available on Twitter. It's I think it's cool because it says something at least about like the way people were reacting and what the video feels like about the way people about the way Iron Galaxy is run, what kind of community is, what kind of culture it is. Like I think that like if the boss came up to me and just said it's Mario time, I'd probably just look at him weird and say, okay.
I got a lot of that too. I just didn't publish those videos.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is a very selective cut of just the funny ones.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The two studios, so we have a studio in Chicago, which is where I'm based out of, and an Orlando-based studio, and that video was done in the Orlando one. The two studios are very different. It's weird. It's like when we started the second one, we have a very, every company thinks they're different. Every company thinks they're special. And there are things that make them unique and special, but it's like, it's largely overstated in my experience. But one thing I think, there's not a lot of game companies like ours just from a portfolio perspective, right? And because we have such a diverse portfolio of active things we're working on at a given time, we have to run the studio differently than most people. And like that manifests itself in a lot of different ways. And I thought it was like, okay, here's the recipe to do it. And it's the only way to get it done. And when we started the Orlando studio, I was down there all the time. Like Chelsea and I were pretty much, one of us was down there at all times when we were getting the thing started in 2012. And because it's like, well, no, we have to do it this way. And this is the one way we can do things and da-da-da-da-da. And over time, we kind of just realized, oh, wait, no, this is just a different group of people. And they're going to maybe work in a different manner and with a different efficiency than the Chicago crew does. Because like the core of the Chicago team had been working with me, some of them for as long as 15 years before Iron Galaxy started, right? Some of them like for a very, very, very long time. And most of them for at least 5, right? So they knew the way I run a team and they knew how I like to get things done and the process I apply. And so that just became like how Iron Galaxy does it because I hired all these senior people and then they were the leads and I trained them how to do it. So they do it just like I do it. It's perfect. And Orlando, none of that happened. And it just kind of like a different way of doing things came about. And I was really petrified about it at first. I'm like, shit, this isn't going to work out, da-da-da-da-da. But it worked out great. Like, Orlando does just as good a work as Chicago does. They just do it differently. And so where I'm going with this story is like, it's not like, you mentioned like the culture and the way of getting things done. It's like, there's like, it's not about culture, it's about values, right? And the culture is very different between the two studios, but the values are the same. Okay. And we have a lot. We have this deck we show, and for a while we didn't do this, but now Adam does a really good job. Adam has this orientation thing he does with all new people, and one of the things he shows them is this big like 15-page PowerPoint we made on the company values that we showed at a company meeting a couple of years ago, and he shows it to all new employees, right? And as long as everyone understands those values and holds each other and management accountable for those values, the studios are going to be fine. Like, you can do the work however you want to do it. If you want to do waterfall, if you want to do agile, like, none of that shit matters as long as the values are being honored. If the values are being honored, the work will get done, and it'll be done in a way we're proud of.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So I guess feeding off of that, like the discovering that like the culture was different in Orlando and that they were going to go about things a different way. Is there a lesson there that like leaders can learn about like trusting your employees and making sure that you have good people in place and that the work's going to get done?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't think it's so like a very in a 100,000-foot view, that is correct.
Okay.
Right. You have to do a lot of things to make sure it's possible that's correct.
Okay.
Like you have to have your hiring completely buttoned up. Like, you have to make sure you're getting people that share your values, right? You have to make sure you're getting people that are aligned with what you're trying to get done, right? And you have to make sure you get people that are competent, right? If you do those things and then you build an environment in which they can do good work, right? and then the company comes through on their end of it, and they give them the resources, the time, the materials, the kind of space they need to do the work, then that's absolutely true. But it's not just like if you build it, they will come situation. Like you have to do a lot of work to get it so it's like, okay, just let them go and they'll figure it out. You know, a bunch of other things have to be true before that's true.
Okay. So, you know, listening to what you've said in the past and, you know, like your pin tweet, talking about some of your experiences at Sculpture and, you know, the way things ended at Kodiak, do you think that at any point in your career you could have benefited before becoming a member of management with being in a union? And do you think the industry needs unionization?
So this is a tough one because like I think like so I come from kind of like a union family. My mom was a high school teacher, and I kind of deeply understand the value that brought her as kind of like, you know, the seemingly disposable part in this huge education machine, right? And so I kind of understand all that deeply. I personally don't feel I ever would have benefited from a union, personally. But I'm also in this very privileged position where I'm a programmer, so I'm highly sought after, right? Like my like people were falling over to hire me when I said I'm looking for a new job, right? Because like, oh, he can do graphics, and he could do this, and he could do this, and he shipped these games, and that was a good game, and da 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 da. And so it's like it's a seller's market if you're like that person, right? So me personally, no, there's people in the industry that would probably benefit from it across, like, if you look at like the totality of the industry, like there's probably people that would benefit from it. Like say QA would probably benefit from it, right? Yeah. Say like maybe some, you know, some people like getting started in their careers, right? And maybe not as sought after like specializations would benefit from it. But the fact that like, you know, some of the team won't, I think it makes it tough to, I think it makes it a tough thing to make happen in games. Like, so it's like, if you like, you know, these conversations are happening at every game studio across the country. And I'm not part of them because I'm management. And so I'm sure they're happening at Iron Galaxy too, right? Like I'm sure people are talking about it. And all I can kind of do is role play the situation. And if I was just being like frank about it, like if I was in a room with a bunch of people and like they don't have bargaining power and I have a ton of it, like what is my personal incentive to cast my lot in with them? And it's not super high, you know? Yeah. So I'm not sure. So yeah, so that's kind of my take on it is it's I'm sure a couple studios will unionize and just see how it goes, and a lot of people will be watching. But on the whole, I think it's a very daunting problem. So,
okay, we have definitely seen in other industries where organized labor has become more prevalent. You know, the auto industry springs to mind. That a lot of the way companies react to organized labor is moving some production facilities to countries where labor protections aren't as common.
Well, that's actually the problem. Another problem for unions in games is that part has already happened without unions being here. Mm-hmm. Like QA, most QA, the bulk of QA efforts are done overseas already. A lot of art is being done overseas already. Now, you'll always need local QA people. You'll always need artists to like integrate art that, you know, your outsourcers do for you or whatever. But for big AAA productions, most of it's being done overseas already. You know, without even, just as a cost savings measure, right? Like if you assume talent is spread equally across the globe, right? And in my experience, it is. Right. Like I don't think there's anything special about like, you know, North America or Europe, right? So if there's people who can do art, if they get the right training, they'll do art and they'll do it for a third of the cost. Like, you know, so that's been happening and it's already like done. So it's not like a hypothetical at this point.
Okay. So shifting gears a little bit, some Iron Galaxy questions which aren't necessarily about labor. A lot of the work that Iron Galaxy does is stuff that you guys can't necessarily talk about or toot your own horn until it's either been released or until the publisher can give you guys the go-ahead to say that you were the ones doing the work. Has there been anything which has been released recently which you guys are particularly proud of or is reflective of a particularly healthy relationship with a partner?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, like, recently is like, so we have a lot of stuff. We have a lot of stuff that's about to get announced. Is the best way to put it. So we haven't actually. I think the thing we just finished, which is already announced that we worked on it. We did the Spyro PC version with Activision, and it's actually pretty funny. It's funny how these things work out. Like, you're talking with Activision about helping them with Spyro and the PC version or whatever, and we're in a pretty fortunate position where I think we generally need. We don't need work. We've got a lot of people coming to us with things we can do, so we kind of pick and choose what we do at this point in our trajectory, which is really nice. And so it's like, Spyro for the PC. Well, we did Crash for the PC, and it's going to be the same engine. We have the people that can do it and know it. We could probably do it faster than we did last time. But maybe they don't want to do it again. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then we found out in the studio, one of our engineers is like a pro Spyro speedrunner.
What?
Yeah. He's like a pro speedrunner. And so it's like, okay. And he basically wanted to be on it and make like the definitive edition of Spyro that like all speedrunners would use. And so it is like, I don't think they've announced all the stuff in it, but it is a very, 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 very good PC version of that game. because Phil was on it and Phil gave a shit and it did a lot of cool stuff in there, right? And so that's one I don't think it's out yet. I think it's coming out very soon.
Okay.
But that's one that's like just like a random thing. But kind of getting to the original point of like relationships that are good, like just look at anyone we've released more than one thing with, and the relationship is good, right? Because we can kind of pick and choose who we work with. If we work with someone again, it's because we had a good experience with them, And so, like, we work with Bethesda a lot. We work with, we're doing, I can't say that one. Yeah. Anyway.
We work with somebody else who we can't talk about yet.
Exactly. So there's a lot of stuff that'll be announced very soon, and we're all super pumped about the stuff we're doing right now.
Oh, very cool.
At least I hope we are. I am. I can say that.
You're stoked. Nice. So you've done some recent hinting around the next, I guess, original IP project that Iron Galaxy is working on, saying that you expect to be revealed next year. Is there anything else you can say about the project, or we just need to wait a year?
Yeah, you just have to wait, sadly. It won't be a super shock to anyone that kind of knows who we are as a studio. It's definitely like not. It's kind of, how do I put this? It's not like anything we've done before, but it won't shock anybody. Like, oh yeah, of course that Iron Galaxy is doing something like that.
Okay.
So it's going to be exciting, and I can't wait for that thing to get announced. I think probably no later than E3 next year, probably before E3, that thing will get announced. And it's going to be super cool.
It's not a 3D fighter that can only be played with 2 buttons, right?
It's a 3D fighter that can only be played with 1 button. There, you sit down.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's just the God, I played this horrible game. What was it? It was I think it was it which one was it? Oh no, I was doing commentary for Mystery Game Tournament at Combo Breaker. Mm-hmm. And Mystery Game Tournament's a tournament where like the competitors don't know what game they're going to play, and it changes round to round to round. And there was basically a game, I think it was like one of the it was part of the Kirby games, where it's basically like fastest person to hit the button wins. It's like a gunslinging game, and just hit the button. Whoever hits the button first wins. And it's like, okay, so you can't have a 1-button video game. They figured it out. They done did it. Congratulations, Nintendo.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, Extinction was a game that you guys did for, was an original IP, but you were doing it for somebody else. You were doing it for Modus.
Yeah.
Are there any games right now which kind of fit into that mold where you're developing an IP for another company and you'll get an opportunity to control some of the messaging around it when it comes out?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of. How long of an answer do you want here?
As long as you want, dude.
Okay. So let's assume for a moment some of your listeners don't know how games get funded. And let's talk about all the ways they can get funded for a second.
We can assume that I don't know how games get funded.
Okay.
Because I don't know how games get funded a lot of the time, so I'm already intrigued.
Perfect. So there's like a handful of very traditional ways in which they get funded. One is the kind of oldest model, and I think it'd be called the publisher model, and that's kind of what you're referring to. And the publisher model is like, hey, we've got an idea for the game. We're not in a position where we can build it ourselves, but we really want to make it, and here's all the reasons why we think it'll make money. So give us the money, and we'll make it, and then you'll make money, and we'll make some money, and it'll be great. And so the way that works out in practice is, in just the reality of making video games, is ideas are super cheap, ideas are easy, and execution and money are hard. And so when you're bringing an idea to a negotiation versus someone bringing money, the person with the money has all the leverage, right? They have no shortage of people coming to them saying, hey, I want to make this game, and I want to make this game, and I want to make this game. And they just have to pick which one they want to do, right? And so, and they're probably seeing a lot of ideas that they like. They're probably seeing like, oh, we could do this one, this one, this one, or this one. And I think all those are good ideas, and they could be cool. And I think the team can pull it off or whatever. But because of that, they have all the leverage. And so the way the deals get set up is you get money to make the game, and that's basically considered like an advance against your royalties, right? And so say you get $100 to make the game, and you spend all $100 making the game. Then the publisher generally earns that back and some first. So then say the game, you don't see another dime as the developer until the game gets to maybe like somewhere between like $120 to $150 in revenue. You won't see anything. So the publisher has to make their initial investment plus some profit based on top of it. And then after that, the money gets split some way between you and the publisher, majority going to the publisher, right? And that's a traditional kind of advance against royalties deal that publishers have done since the dawn of time. And I generally think that's a pretty fair way to go about it. I generally own the IP as well. They took all the financial risk, But then you start to swing the pendulum the other way. And this is more the way we've been going lately with kind of doing original game deals. And then there's, well, I guess let's talk about the other end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is you are self-funding and self-publishing your game. Either you've got enough money from just running your core business, or you've got some investor who just doesn't give a shit about, they just want to be in video games or whatever. They just want something. You borrowed from your Aunt Tilly or whatever, however you got the money, and you make the game and you publish it yourself. And so then it's like $100 to make the game, and then it's probably like, if you're doing it right, like traditional, like this is not like the indie model. We're talking about like, bigger games, let's say. I'm not going to say AAA, but just like bigger games, the retail component to them. Like the general rule of thumb is whatever you spend making the game, you should spend 20 to 50% of that like advertising for it, right? Like so when when like Activision does Call of Duty, if like Call of Duty has like a $100 million dev budget, it's got at least a $50 million advertising budget, at least, right? And so that's why they have to make their 20 to 50% back, right, on top of whatever the dev cost was, because publishing costs a lot of money too. So you have $100 you spent making the game, another $20 to $50 you spent publishing it, whether it's printing discs, buying the cost of goods or whatever, dealing with Sony, dealing with Microsoft, dealing with Valve, dealing with Nintendo, dealing with Epic, dealing with Oculus, dealing with all these other people, that all cost. People have to do that work. They cost money too. Mm-hmm. But then the good part of that is if you take that financial risk, then every dollar coming in is yours essentially, minus the platform holders' fees, right? Mm-hmm. So say you have $100 in sales, the platforms will generally take their between 12 and 30% depending on the platform, mm-hmm. and you get the rest of it. And if it's a hit, you make money hand over fist, right? So those are like the kind of two extremes. I guess there's one more traditional model that happens a lot more with like Chinese or Asian companies. They over the last couple of years, there's been a lot less direct funding for video games from those territories. What they'll do instead is they'll say, okay, how much will your game will it take to make your game? You'll say, it'd be like 15 million or whatever it'll be. And they'll say, okay, what do you think your company is worth? Oh, I think my company's worth $100 million. I'll say, okay, we're going to buy 15% of your company, and you take that money and you make that game. And so that's called investment or equity financing, essentially.
Yeah, that's spooky. Ugh.
And so, it's actually kind of good. So I think it's a lot. The only downside with that is there's only so many of those deals you can do.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's great from a holy shit, I know these people are invested in this thing being a success.
Right. That's true.
They are in it with me come hell or high water. And that's a reassurance you don't often get with normal kind of publishing deals. So those are kind of like the three, like that. If there's a finance triangle, right? Those are like the 3 points on it, and we're kind of somewhere in the middle with all the deals we're doing now. We'll invest a lot of our own money to get a prototype together, and to get it so it's kind of far along, right? Before we show anyone what we're doing, and then we'll go to a publisher and we'll say, hey, publisher, look at this. It's not just a pen and paper pitch. It's actually this thing you can pick up and play, and it's fun. And here's all the research we've done into why the market, we've done this job for you, essentially. We've told you, well, here's why it's going to make money. And then we do that same thing with personal investors or people who like doing equity investment, like maybe, your 10 cents or your Nexons or whatever, right? And then basically we just look at what deals come back to us and say, okay, this is the best one for this game. Kind of the other stuff, kind of how I get the money or whatever, as long as we're comfortable with all the other terms, it's cool. We just kind of shop all those markets with that prototype because we've got leverage now because we've invested a lot of our own money into the game, and it's easier to see why it'll be fun and why it'll be good. And there's more offers coming in for it, and when there's more offers coming in for it, that's how as a developer you get leverage. Right, because you can play the offers off each other. You can say, well, listen, publisher X is going to do thing A, B, and C, so you got to do thing A, B, and C and D, or I'm going to go with them. And that's the way. Pretty much the only way to get leverage as a developer is through that way. So, to answer your question, we are now kind of like a mix of all three of those styles of funding, for pretty much all the original stuff we do.
I think that feeds into something which kind of vaguely came up around the edges. With Schreier, which was, he alluded to the idea, would you ever consider selling Iron Galaxy? And it didn't sound like in the interview that was an idea that you were entirely willing to kick out of bed, and so I guess I was curious as to under what conditions would that be something that you would ever even consider? Considering that when you talk about the core mission of it being a place where you can make games with your friends forever, if you're not ultimately where the buck stops, how important can that priority be?
Yeah. So our mission, like you said, is the reason the company exists is I want to make games with people I like until I don't want to do it anymore. Right. And I don't want anyone to fuck that up or tell me I can't do that. Right. Now that's the mission. That's the goal, but that's not that actually doesn't factor into that decision.
Okay.
So our what factors into that decision would be our company values. Right. And the I could talk about this for a very long time, but I'll spare you most of that. Like, the super short version is when people started Iron Galaxy. I used to have this conversation with everybody, and we got too big, and I don't talk to all the new hires anymore, which kind of sucks. I miss it. But like, when people would start, I would have this conversation with them. It's like, hey, listen, I look at this as like a semi-permanent bond. I want you to be happy here. I want you to not want to leave, and we want to be happy with your performance here. And to do that, we have to talk and communicate, and we have to do all these things. And in exchange for that, what I promise is, like, the only criteria that we are going to make decisions on is keeping this place stable, right? Like the reason, like, if the goal, think about it like this, like, if the goal is to make games with my friends forever, well, how do you run the company? Well, you do it in a way to make it as stable as possible, right? You do it in a way so, like, if a game gets canceled, you don't have to lay a bunch of people off. Which is why we work on like 15 things at once, right? So if like 1 or 2 or 3 of them go away, we kind of don't give a shit. It's like a bummer that the game got canceled because we probably picked that game for a reason because we wanted to do it. But things change, like sometimes these things just don't work out. But the difference is I don't have to lay anybody off because I've got 12 other projects that people can contribute to, right? And so every decision we make, like, stability is the razor that decision gets cut across.
Right.
And implicit in that is a promise, right, that I make to people. It's like, hey, if we ever sell the company, it's going to be a more stable situation, right? It's going to be better than it is today from a stability perspective, right? And into that conversation, into that discussion, Brian, is kind of the stuff you said. It's like, well, if I'm not the boss anymore, I can't guarantee these things, right? That's a factor for sure. But there's also, like, the reality of running a business is like this is one of these things that, like, I didn't understand this. For a long time, I ran the company. For like 5 years, me and Chelsea, we ran the company. And I was terrified of the company going out of business and laying off my friends. Like, anytime anything bad happened, it's all I could think about and obsess over. And it was awful. It was super, super shit. And then one day I kind of just had this breakthrough after talking to a lot of people about it. And it's one of these things you can say to people. Like, I say what I'm about to tell you. I have this conversation with other people running studios 15, 20 times a year. And I always say the same thing. And either they're in a place where they can hear it or they can't. And there's nothing I can do to make them hear it if they're not ready to hear it. But it's really simple. It's everything that has a beginning has an end, right? I'm going to die one day, right? America will go away one day. Like, everything that has a beginning has an end. That's true for Iron Galaxy too, right? And that might be tomorrow. That might be 6 months from now. It might be 30 years from now. I don't fucking know, right? And you can't worry about it going out of business. Like, you just can't. Because when you're in our situation, you have at best like indirect control over your future, right? Until we've got like 3 years of payroll in the bank, right? We don't really have a lot of say in, like, if we stay in business. Like, all we can do is do the best work, show to people we have value, that they should work with us, and that's how we guarantee that, right? And I can see a world where, like, oh, wow, man, it's fucking, like, it's almost impossible to run an independent game studio these days, the way the market has turned, or the way this has gone, or the way this thing has gone, or the way this thing has gone. And from a stability perspective, it makes more sense to sell to someone else with more money than try to keep doing this ourselves, right? So that's not true today, I don't think. I think right now is going to be an amazing time for our company. I think a bunch of developers like us have been bought up over the last couple of years, and we're almost the last company standing that does the kind of work we do. And it's just great. Every time someone gets bought, there's just more shit for us to do. So I think right now is a really strong time, but I say that with full knowledge that it could end any second. And if it does, that's okay. Everything ends. It's not like the end of the world. But it's also like a reason to, it would be something that would motivate me to sell the company.
Okay, so it sounds like the sale of Iron Galaxy is not imminent. But it wouldn't be out of the question to see Phil Spencer walk you out on stage.
I'm not going to comment on the Phil part of it, but yeah, I think it's definitely not impossible. Like, if I felt like the most important thing to me basically about the company is that I keep my promise to all the employees that, like, we're going to honor our values as best we can, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep this thing stable so we can work together forever, right? As long as I'm keeping those values and promises together, I'm comfortable doing almost anything. And if I think, like, selling to Microsoft and hanging out with Phil every day, if I think that gets me closer to that goal, then, like, I would do that in a heartbeat, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just transfixed by the idea of, like, a cool road trip movie starring you and Phil Spencer. Like,
I don't really know Phil. The reason I don't want to comment on that, I realized the Phil thing might have came off weird before, and I didn't mean it like super weird. But Phil is, like, everyone says he's, like, super nice and he's this awesome dude, and I don't really know him. And the couple times I've interacted with him, he's really intimidated me.
Ooh,
yeah, it's weird. And, like, I think what I heard is, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard he's not super into people who swear. And I think I just dropped a bunch of F-bombs around him once. And so I think I'm kind of, like, on the poo-poo list. That's speculation. I don't know that for certain. But that dude intimidates me, man. Every time I talk to him, he's super nice. And he's like, but he scares me. I don't know what it is about him. He just terrifies me.
Well, obviously, we have to get Phil Spencer on the show, Brand, so we can ask him about this.
That's a big ask, Rocky. That's a big ask.
I know.
I'll try.
I'm just saying, man. It's on the list of things to do.
Okay. So speaking about exciting futures, and fair, this is 75% a joke question. Adam Boyes was vice president of third-party relations at PlayStation for 4 years. Now he's the CEO once you've transitioned into your founder C-3PO role. John Vignacchi is now at developer relations at Nintendo. So I guess what I wonder is, when will John Vignacchi be CEO?
I mean, well, that's up to Adam to hire him. Like, I can't. Adam's the only person that can make that happen, so you should talk to him about that.
Okay, all right.
I'm not. It's like this. Like, you have to have something to give it away, and I don't have that position anymore. So Adam's be the one to relinquish it.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if it was like a Highlander thing or like.
Yeah, well, I guarantee this. Iron Galaxy is not a co-CEO company.
Okay.
There is only one CEO at Iron Galaxy.
So when can we expect the pay-per-view of Adam Boyes versus John Vignacchi for CEO?
The CEO match? I'm kind of down. Can it be at CEO?
Oh, CEO match at CEO? That sounds fantastic, Rocky.
No, it wouldn't be at CEO. It would have to be like a hardcore match. Like, it could take place anywhere, anytime.
Oh, snap. Let's go.
Defend it like the 24/7 title? Okay.
Like Adam's at Gamescom, and he's, like, walking to a meeting through the streets of Cologne, and Vignacchi just comes barreling out the front door of a restaurant with, like, a chair. And all of a sudden it's fucking on. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Worldwide hardcore match.
You only know it's about to go down because the camera crew shows up, and it's like, oh no, where is he?
Yeah, it's like Free Solo. Like,
just Vignacchi on the streets of Germany with a referee. That sounds perfect.
Amazing, yeah.
So I guess after that bullshit, let me get serious for a second. There's been a lot of content on your Twitter in the last year that I would probably describe as, like, introspective. In between all the posts about, like, the John Wick 3 scale, there has been stuff where, like, it really seems like you've been thinking about where you are and, like, taking stock of your life and a greater focus on just being grateful and knowing what's good. Like, because we haven't had that, window into what's going on with you so much that a podcast might provide, have there been things in the last 6 months that have been like a trial which has led to this kind of posting, or have you just reached a place in your life where you have a greater focus on being grateful and taking stock?
I thought I was not being so obvious. I need to be more opaque on Twitter, I guess. Yeah, so I guess, like, this is worth talking about, I suppose. I've been doing a lot of work on just myself over the last like 5 years. It's one of these things where I think like 10 years ago, if you would tell me I would have like a life coach or a psychologist or a shrink, I'd been like, oh God, what happened? Right? I'd be like, what the fuck happened in my life where I have that now or whatever. And it's one of these things where it's just like, how do I describe this? It's not like something went wrong or something happened, but I just kind of, I kind of was getting sick of making the same mistakes over and over and over again, you know? And I kind of like, hey, there's probably a reason for that. And a bunch of smart people told me, yeah, you dummy, like this is why these people exist. Like they're objective observers. They call you on your bullshit. They're not your friends. You can't have your friends do all this emotional labor of just listening to you fucking barf your emotions all the time. Like you need to talk to somebody. And so I started doing that about 5 years ago, and it's been amazing. Like no matter how much you think you have your shit together, or no matter how like successful you are or whatever, you don't have your shit together. Like no one does, right? And kind of the only way forward in life is to kind of acknowledge that and kind of lean into it and try to understand yourself as best you can, right? And so the last 5 years have been that for me, essentially. And kind of just saying, hey, it's okay that not everything's okay all the time. And it's okay that you don't have all the answers. And it's okay that you feel like scared or whatever it is about these things. It's just more important that you're putting the work in and you're doing the work. And so lately I've been feeling a lot of gratitude about having done some of that work and the people in my life that allowed it to happen. And that's kind of where all that stuff has come from. So, in summary.com, everyone should have someone to talk to. I think it's like, I can't imagine what the last 5 years would have been like if I didn't have like the support network I've got now. So, it's been great / a lot, but mostly great.
Okay. Very cool. It was something that you were, I guess, digging into some, before the current hiatus for GFB. I remember there was a time where you were talking about a trip that you took with Adam and Chelsea as a result of, I think that it might have been kickstarted by a suggestion from either like a business coach or a life coach that like the three of you ended up taking I think it was a trip to Mexico.
Yeah, we went to Cancun.
Yeah, and it just sounded like the absolute healthiest shit. Like this was like top tier. Like, okay, let's do this. And I'm very happy to hear that. Like realizing that you should take care of yourself is something which is a lot harder than it seems. So good on you, man.
Yeah, it's one of these things too where it's like I should probably talk about it more than I do. I don't like talking about it because I don't like. It's hard to describe, but like, it's not that I'm like ashamed of it or whatever, but there's some stuff that's just for me, you know? And so I don't want to talk about everything all the time. There's some stuff I want to keep that's just for, just for me. And this is kind of one of them. But at the same time, I kind of recognize that like, I think from the outside looking in, casual observer, wow, he's got his shit together. He fucking runs a company. He's on all these PAX panels or whatever the fuck it is, right? And like, I think a lot of people would benefit from knowing that like, hey, no, my shit's kind of fucked up too, and I have a lot of the same problems you probably do. And I think I could probably do some good by talking about that more. I'm just not quite there yet. So maybe one day.
Okay. So I want to go from that incredibly heavy question to one which is just as heavy. How does it feel to be losing the war against Windjammers?
Well, it's what makes you say I'm losing it?
Well, Windjammers 2, like in production, it's happening.
Is it?
Do you know something that we don't?
I was going to say.
I'm sorry. Until it's out, I'm not scared until it's out.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Fair.
That's the Kingdom Hearts thing all over again. That's
all right.
cool.
Yeah.
I
right.
respect it.
Like you can tweet it and you can send like mocked up videos and fake bullshit all you want. Like I know that
trailer.
I know that game's not coming out. It's fine.
Rocky, he does sound just like you about Kingdom Hearts.
I know. It's cool. I feel that, man. I totally understand. I was like, Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't coming out until 2036 until they put a date out there, and I'm like, oh well, shit. I guess it might be coming out. And now it's here. It's in my house. It snuck its way in.
That's the difference between Windjammers and Kingdom Hearts. Windjammers 2 will never come out.
Oh man.
I've got operatives deep seated inside Sony and Xbox, and their submissions might just get lost. Who knows?
Just lost.
Sorry, .emu.
Oh man.
I mean, there's a reason Yaki's in developer relations at Nintendo, right? Like,
yes. Just
God.
Say hypothetically, Yaki could make it impossible for that game to come out on the Switch. He could.
Is there like a secret? Is he like a sleeper agent? Are you gonna like do a podcast with like a special code in it, and he's gonna hear it and just flip?
Be activated.
Yeah, I'm gonna text him Mario time, all lowercase. And that's the signal that it's time to go.
So I guess from one crisis to another, did you ever get a larger wine fridge, or have the subscriptions been cut back?
Man, going back to the classics. So, no, I still have the same wine fridge. I did something really smart this year. So, if you've never listened to GFB, I do this once a year wine trip to Napa right before GDC.
Yep.
We fly into San Francisco, then a group of game people, we go up to Napa, and we do the weekend up there. And if you've never been wine touring in Napa, it's all just a big racket to get you to buy wine, right? Unsurprisingly. Mm-hmm. You go on these tours, and they get you drunk. And then at the end of the tour, they're like, hey, buy all this fucking wine. And the first couple of years I did it, you actually like join a club. And the way the club works is as long as, they just keep charging your credit card and they keep sending you wine. And so it kind of just keeps coming. It never stops. And eventually, but then I got really lucky. Oh boy, I could tell you, this is like a 20-hour story, but I'll try to distill it down. So then it's like I had... one of my friends is like, no, like I do this, like I go to Napa and I join all, because like if you don't buy anything, the tastings and the tours cost money, right? They might cost anywhere like from $40 to $60 for a tasting, right? But if you buy wine, they waive the tasting fee. So what my friend's like, no, what I do is I go and I join every club and I immediately cancel my credit card.
Jesus.
So I don't pay for the tasting fee. I'm like, wow, that's a scumbag move. That's a real big time scumbag move. But in the back of my head, it's like, wow, that would be a really easy way to get all these fucking clubs I've signed up for. Because let's face it, I'm not going to dig up the emails. I'm not going to call like these 20 people. I can't fucking cancel DirecTV. I'm too scared to call them, right?
I can do that for you. I have a very particular set of skills.
Excellent, man. Liam Neeson, love it. So anyway, so I'm like, then one day I'm like, my card got lost. Well, actually, Adam, it didn't. This was this year at Dice. I'm at the bar, and I already had a tab going on the company credit card, and then someone else wanted another drink, so I gave him my Visa card, my personal Visa, and opened another tab up. And then next day I woke up and I had my company credit card, but I didn't have my Visa card, and I don't remember what happened. And I'm like, what the fuck? Where's my card? And I kind of remembered opening up a second tab. I'm like, oh, they didn't know I had two tabs. I only closed the one. Smash cut 6 hours later. No one has my credit card. The casino doesn't have it. I've called it in. I've canceled it. I've done all that shit. And then Adam goes in his wallet, and he closed out the bill, and he had my card. He just didn't remember it either. So
oh, boy. That's a night.
Yeah, it was a doozy. I think it was Tuesday. It was a humdinger. But anyway, but then it's like the silver lining is like, oh, my clubs are gone. This is fucking amazing. Like I'm free and clear. This is like amazing. But then I found out something else. So you know how like if you get a card stolen, it's like some of your subscriptions keep going with the new card. It's like Visa can tell people like, no, this is the same. This is like basically if they know it's like a subscription based thing, Visa will pass on the information to the service provider. They're like, no, here's. So I guess that's an opt-in thing that when you sign up for stuff with Visa, somehow they know to do that with you, and somehow they don't. And some of the wineries did it. So I'd say about like 25% of the wineries were smart enough to set up their shit like that. So I still get like 25% of the stuff coming in. But then this year when I went, I didn't join any clubs. I just bought a case of wine from every place we went. And so now this is the onslaught of wine has turned into a trickle. And I am surrounded in wine boxes in the moment. But when these go away, my fridge should be okay as it stands. So there's your answer to your question. That's more than you need to know.
We wanted the details, so thank you. Something else I'm sure that like people who are longtime listeners of GFB might be interested in was I think that where we left the show was that that there was a Tesla ordered and the Prius was getting put out to pasture.
Yes, the Prius is I gave the Prius to my brother-in-law, and he drives it to this day. He fucking loves it. And I got a Model 3, the long range edition, and I got it in September, and I fucking love it. It's amazing. I never have spent money on a car before because it always struck me as really stupid. Like, why would you buy a car? Like, it's just, it takes you places, right? It's like this thing that has this utility in it. And it's like, this car could take me to work, and this car, which is a third of the cost of that car, could take me to work. Why would you take the good one? Like, why would you do the more expensive one? Duh.
Right.
Well, it turns out there's a reason for it. Like, the Tesla is, I shit you not, it is at least 10 times better than the Prius in terms of just, like, experience. This everything, like, just, it basically drives itself. I'm in rush hour a lot of the time when I'm going to work. I don't have to worry about braking, accelerating. It just does all that shit for me. It basically makes that experience very enjoyable and very kind of like whatever. So that's at least 10 times better. And it was like 2.2 to 2.5x the cost. So like from a value perspective, how can you not buy a nice car?
So
right?
two follow-up questions. One, you're so high on the Tesla, and I hear all this stuff about Elon Musk wanting to put video games on the Tesla. When's Dive Kick coming to Tesla?
Tesla's going out of business. Like I'm going to be fucked in like 2 more quarters. So I'm enjoying the car while it can be serviced. There's going to be a big graveyard of Teslas. What I want Elon Musk, what I want his last really stupid project to be, this will be the one that finally bankrupts the company, is he buys like thousands of acres, tens of thousands of acres in like the desert somewhere, and he just makes a big hole. And all Tesla owners, when Tesla goes out of business, like the cars, they download one last patch, and they auto drive into the hole.
Oh God!
There's actually one horrifying
like graveyard.
So we're putting Teslas in the ET graveyard.
Yes, essentially, it's the only way it can end. I wouldn't even be mad at it if it did that. I wouldn't even be mad. I'd have to accept it.
What if Tesla like buys the Grand Canyon and they just drive them all into that?
I would allow it. I'd prefer it didn't destroy one of the wonders of the world in the process.
True.
But I would allow it. If they're out of money and they don't have hole digging money anymore, then that's a good alternative. Or Bryce Canyon maybe.
I really don't know what hole digging money is. Like I don't know what a hole digging budget is. And
well,
Rocky,
I mean, Cards Against Humanity got a hole digging budget for a while, so like I'm sure they could collaborate on something.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, Elon would do something really dumb. You wouldn't just like buy a bunch of backhoes. He would like try to invent a new like. He'd try to like put like a drill tip on the moon or some shit that would like, extend to the thing. God, that guy's such a fuckboy. God.
Rocky, I think that our podcast format being of at least 20% dunking on Elon Musk will be consistent this week. So
God bless.
Yeah. I guess the other Prius follow-up question is, so it sounds like you never had sex in the Prius.
Correct.
Has any sex been had in the Prius?
I have to assume so.
Okay.
Like I'm not going to ask that question because I don't want the answer.
Right.
but Marie's brother, who now has the car, he got married fairly recently. So I'm going to assume that the Prius is no longer a virgin, is what I'm going to assume, but I do not want confirmation of that.
Yeah, that is not the kind of question you ask your brother-in-law.
I hope he at least got it cleaned afterwards.
Again, it's not I don't care anymore. Whatever happens in that car, I will never be in that car again. So whatever happens, I don't give a shit.
Man. General interest bullshit kind of question that emerges on every podcast. What have you been playing recently?
Well, I've been playing like the same 3 games a bunch. I've been playing Overwatch, I've been playing Siege, and then like those are the 2 I've been playing mostly. And then there's some PUBG in there still. There's some Apex. I feel like I'm forgetting one other shooty game. Oh, yeah, the Call of Duty. We've been playing some COD, like deathmatch stuff. So it's kind of alternating between the shooty stuff recently. So yeah,
there's a new Hitman level.
I know. I got to check it out. I've been really remiss on the. So I think Hitman 2 is better than Hitman Season 1 on the whole, but I enjoyed Hitman Season 1 more just because it kind of came out of like not nowhere. Everyone knows what Hitman is, but it was like the best Hitman in a really, 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 really long time, and it was so good and so perfect. Mm-hmm. And then also the format of like content coming out made me really appreciate the content I had, and so I ended up playing it a lot more than I did this one, because like I'm kind of like in my mind I'm like with Hitman Season 1, it's like I'm never done with it because there's always stuff coming out, right? Is how I thought about it, and it was always this thing I just checked out and played. Whereas in my mind, Hitman 2, I'm kind of done with it. And so, yeah, there's these escalation missions, and then there's the elusive targets, and they just don't have the draw they had with Season 1. I think it's because of the format and how they're selling it. So
yeah, like the Hitman Season 1, like the episodic release really forced me to get to know each level before moving on. And so,
right.
Yeah, I just felt so much more invested in each individual escalation or each individual elusive target because I knew exactly what was to the left of Dahlia's office in Paris. Like, the good news is this is the first time that game has felt like that since Season 1, because it's the first time we've gotten a single new level delivered on its own, which means that like I already know that bank better than any other location in Hitman 2.
Oh, okay, so I'll have to check it out because I bought the season pass, so I just have to go check it out.
Yeah.
The reason I bought it was I was bored one day. I was streaming, and I felt like some Hitman stuff, but I didn't want to do anything. And I bought it for that new sniper map.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, I'm paying a lot of money for just a sniper map. What if they never put anything else out? So I'm glad to hear there's a new map. I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's very, very good. It's also the first time that they've ever had any kind of like destructible environment stuff in a Hitman level.
Okay.
Yeah. I like the fact that just like they did with Season 1, that they're using the DLC to screw around with ideas and prototype stuff. Like it, as a player, it feels very intimate. Like there was stuff that would happen in the Patient Zero missions for Hitman 1 that were like progressive and changed like how long depending on you were in the level, and if then situations with like NPCs that they had never screwed with before, and there seemed to be doing the same kind of like weird public-facing prototyping with the bank level, and I really appreciate it and think it's cool, and hope you get a chance to mess with it soon and get your thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like we should end the podcast. I should go check it out right now.
Yeah.
So mission accomplished there, Brian.
Well, the one last question I have for you is, do you still stand by your previous dunking on the Phoenix culinary scene?
Boy, I dunk on a lot of things, and most times I'm doing it just for effect. What was I saying? What was my premise?
Your premise was that it was not possible to get a really good meal in Phoenix.
So that's a pretty bold statement. I feel like it's possible to get a good meal pretty much anywhere in the world. So that's not. So no, I don't stand by that. I've not been to Phoenix in It's probably been 2 years. I'm gonna go. My parents live in Surprise, and so I usually don't make it to Phoenix when I go visit them. But if you have a reco for me, I could be coerced to taking my mom to a fancy dinner one day or something. What's popping off in the scene? What do you got for me?
Well, is your mom cool with Japanese?
No, probably not.
Okay.
But let's just, for everyone else listening out there, let's let them know. What do you got for Japanese food in Phoenix?
I would say go to Nobu at Teeter House.
Nobu? My mom would do Nobu.
You see, this is the exact same fucking conversation we had last year.
Nobu's not Japanese.
All right, like where I was like Nobu at Teeter House, and you're like, oh, really, Nobu? Like, also, I'd probably say, there is so much.
And yet you can't think of any.
No. I'm trying to narrow it down. I'm trying to think of like the most Phoenix thing, because there's lots of good shit everywhere, and you don't want to just be like, come here and go eat something you could eat anywhere else. Los Dos Molinos, Central and South Mountain, absolutely fantastic, and probably the most emblematic thing in the city I could think of.
Okay, Los Dos Molinos.
Yes, absolutely fantastic.
All right, I'll write that down. Check it out.
Cool.
Is that been on diners, drive-ins, and dives?
No.
I don't go anywhere he's been, so that's good.
Yeah. No, I exercise caution around that guy.
Next time on the Triple D.
Well, Dave, thank you for hanging out. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. It's fun.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Like, I was planning on sending some more beer to your office, so I guess that'll probably show up at some point.
Love it.
Go ahead.
I said love it. The people will thank you.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. Rocky, you want to take us home?
Yeah. Everyone, this has been Impossible Coin. This is our show. We do it every week. We don't always have interviews, but, we like to get it when the getting's good. If you liked what you heard, or even if you didn't, you can please let us know on wherever you found this podcast, on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or if you want to do something a bit more personal, you can reach us out on social media. Brian's usually on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Tegan's on Tumblr. It's all Impossible Coin. There's music at the beginning and end of this podcast produced by our friend Big Sach. You can find his work.
Oh, Big Sach.
Yep.
Yeah. He's his SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Big Sach NJ. And you can find him on Twitter at Hillary_Swank. The logo that we have for our show is also on a t-shirt. It was drawn by Lauren Moran. You can find her on Twitter at Lauren Moran. And if you like what she does, maybe throw a couple bucks at her Patreon. She deserves it. And that's us. That's the show.
Cool. Well, everybody, peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
You suck.